of our songs today. I'm going to break down way less sad.
Wait, Ryan.
Often there's like a little applause.
Ryan.
So, at any point, if anybody has questions about anything, you can raise your hand. Let me start. Let me get into
Oh my gosh.
About absolutely anything. It's worked really well. Like, we can keep this as like a very fluid conversation. So, the story of Way Less Sad starts about 13 years ago. We heard this Simon and Garfunkel song called My Little Town. And the song sounds very different than Way Less Sad. I'll play a piece of it. God keeps his eye on us. Like, totally different vibe. But at the end of the song, during the fade out, there's this really catchy horn melody. During the fade out. And so we kind of just made a little mental note like 10 or 13 years ago, maybe we could use that at some point for a track. Fast forward about 8 or 9 years, we were writing a song for Cardi B.
Oh.
We ended up using that idea, that Paul Simon sample, and kind of mixing it with more of a hip hop beat. I'll play the demo for you. A little bit of a faster tempo.
Oh dang, that's spicy.
So she didn't want it.
Bruh.
And the next song she put out was WAP, actually. So
Bruh.
we missed the mark on that one. But we remembered there was something there worth keeping. Fast forward about a year, we were writing a song for Kygo, and they sent us over this track. When you write for other artists, a lot of times you're writing what's called top line, which is the melody and the lyrics. They're going to send over a track, and then you write top line on top of it. So they sent over this EDM kind of track, and we ended up writing this chorus.
That's a new song.
So we had that chorus, and again, Kygo didn't want it. This is turning into kind of a depressing story.
Sorry.
It's kind of the name of the game when you're a writer for other artists. It's quantity almost. You're gonna write 100 songs and hope that maybe one of them will get cut. And you just kind of move on. But we made little mental notes. Maybe if we take this Kygo chorus and this Cardi B track and marry them together, it could end up sounding like an AJR song. And thus, Way Less Sad was born. So here I have Pro Tools, which is where I make all of my music. Here I can play just a second of Way Less Sad. Get us acclimated. So the first thing I want to point out are the drums. I like to say this to producers. I think a good tip is to layer your drums. I think especially now in this era of internet sound banks where everybody can have all the same drums. Even like 10 years ago, producers would collect samples, like this is my collection of claps, and I'll trade you my claps for your kick drums. It was a little more personal, and now it's very streamlined, and everybody can grab the same drum. And I think the tendency can be that if everybody uses the same trap snare, then we're all going to sound like Drake. And so I think a good way to combat that is to layer your drums, to manipulate them, to EQ them, and have drums that are all your own. So this clap, for instance, is a good example. It's actually made up of several different claps. There's this guy, which is like a big reverby, splashy clap. There's this, which is like a faraway snap. There's this. That's the clap from the Cardi B version. There's this that's called I'm Not Famous clap, because we literally sampled it from our own song, I'm Not Famous. And then below all of that is like a very low-bodied kind of clap, with more body in it. And those, when they're all put together, they do sound like one clap. But it's like a more full-bodied clap. Now it covers every frequency in the spectrum. It's a little more interesting. Any questions about anything so far? Yeah?
Okay, so how do you always find a good inspiration for your music? I always wondered because where do you get it? Where do you get the samples? Because
how do I find inspiration? It really depends on the song. I think because we've been doing this so long, it's a little rare to get excited about songs because we've written probably over 1,000 songs. So when you do anything 1,000 times, it's kind of a tendency to get a little less excited about it. So I think we go with whatever we're excited about. With something like 3:30, we started with the flutes.
Yes, I always loved it, that one.
Track. That's what we're really excited about. We hadn't heard flutes done in that kind of staccato way before. And then the lyrics poured out. But for something like, I'm trying to think of something. For something like Christmas in June, that was very concept-based. That was very, Jack had the title written down, Christmas in March, I think, in his voice notes. And we kind of played with it and realized as soon as we injected the meaning of, hey, I don't know if I'm gonna be there for you in this relationship because I have this other love, which is my work, can we just, half-ass this relationship? It's like a very ignorant, naive way of thinking. We got really excited about that point of view. And so we knew, okay, there's something in Christmas in June that's worth chasing. So I think it really depends on the song, but whatever we're most excited about, whether it be the lyric or the beat, that's what we follow. Yeah?
Lastly,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Speaking of Christmas in June, my friends can call me crazy, but I need to know, was Jason Derulo Savage Love an inspiration for that?
Was Jason Derulo Savage Love an inspiration for Christmas in June?
Yeah, because honestly,
just
the melody is almost exact.
Oh my god, I'll have to dive into that. It was not. I think we wrote Christmas in June before that song came out.
Really? Because I was listening to it one day and my friend
Yeah.
made a mashup, Daybreak mashup.
Okay, I gotta check that out.
He made a mashup of it, and
All right. I totally believe you, but I'll check it out. I hadn't heard that song at the time though. Here, I could dive into Jack's vocals a little bit.
I should move cause New York is getting muddy.
So with Jack's vocal, we like him to be right up on the mic. We like him to be like right in your ear. That's what's really important to us. I think a lot of artists want their vocals to be maybe a little more anonymous. Not in a bad way, in like a Tame Impala, Arcade Fire kind of indie way. They want it to be like swimming in the track and one with the instrumental. For us, we want Jack to be right here. I want to hear every lyric he's saying. I want to hear all the wordplay. So we want to put effects on him that kind of complement that. So there's EQ.
I should move cause New York is getting muddy out.
And EQ, what you're seeing here are all the frequencies in the spectrum. On the right side, there's all the crispy, splashing high-end stuff. And on the left side, there's the low, like the rumbling the room kind of stuff. And with the vocal, we like to really accentuate the high, crispy stuff. There's compression.
I should move cause New York is getting muddy out.
And compression deals with the volume. So Jack naturally, when he sings, is going, I should move cause New York is getting muddy. I'm exaggerating, but there's a lot of ins and outs, and it's ups and downs in the volume. Compression squashes that, so Jack is always right here. And that's a very modern sound. I think even as recent as like Michael Jackson and Usher, they played with dynamics a little more. There was a lot of, there was a lot of ins and outs, and now it's very much, Ariana Grande is jumping out of the speaker, talking right to me, very close. So we wanted to kind of do that. There's reverb, which reverb, you hear it in this arena. When I stop talking, there's a tail at the end of when I stop talking, right? But
love
it's
that.
a long tail, but in the music, we kind of synthetically want to put some reverb on it, so you can imagine the singer in a room and not just in like a little vocal booth. And then the last thing is a de-esser, which all the like all the annoying S sounds, you kind of want to duck those out so they don't stick too much out of the mix. Questions about anything? Yeah?
Is there an artist you want to work with, or like a song you've heard recently that you would like to do your own kind of remix of?
Is there an artist that we want to work with? Our dream, this is going to sound like a joke, but our dream is to work with Randy Newman, who does a lot of the Toy Story stuff. He just has like such an incredible voice and such a specific point of view. And it feels like there's certain songs that only he can get away with singing. And I think when we discovered that about ourselves, that was like such an important moment. Because we started off, I think like anybody, was it you that you were getting into production, right? But we were talking about that. Yeah, I think with anybody that's getting into production, you're excited to emulate things you know. You're like, oh, I'm a fan of the Beach Boys, so I want to make a Beach Boys song. I want to make a tribal kind of African song or whatever. And that's a really exciting moment, and everybody needs to go through that. But I think after like 8 years of doing that, we got to a point where we started to think, what can we say that no one else is saying? And I think that came around like Netflix trip where we're writing a song about The Office or about Don't Throw My Legos or whatever it is where you're kind of laughing at first. Oh, they wrote a song about The Office, and then by the end you're hopefully crying. That was really exciting for us, and that was a moment where we realized, I don't think Kane Brown could sing a song about The Office. You know, I don't think Quinn 92 could sing a song about The Office. So that was very much an important moment for us. Oh, this is what our sound is, because only we can do that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
How many sounds and instruments do you usually use? Is there a set number that you want to be at? And then is there a group of sounds or instruments that you kind of keep in your pocket and you want to use more often than not?
Totally, yeah. So how many tracks per song, he's asking? I think there's a limit on my laptop to 30 tracks, but what I do is I bounce down things. So let's say, like a lot of those African drums in Next Up Forever. There's like Congo in there, and tambourine, and bongo, and all kinds of stuff. Once I feel like I have the beat of these 15 different drum sounds, I bounce it down and I commit it so that now it's just one track. And so essentially I probably have like hundreds of tracks in here, but they're all like bounced down to 230. But to answer your question, I think just doing it for so long, I start to know what's in my toolbox, right? I start to know if I record violin and trumpet for real, it sounds a lot better and more expressive than doing it within the computer. But I can do something like timpani or bass really well in the computer, and I don't need to go rent out a big studio to get a timpani. So I think just muscle memory of knowing what program to go to is just kind of the answer for that. Yeah.
So if you're using effects in post, do you use anything in with Jack? Like, what's his recording space look like?
So your question, I'm using effects.
You're using EQ dynamic in post production, like to mix.
Yeah.
Are you using anything on the in?
No. It's just dry. It's Jack's mic going right into a Scarlett interface that I have. I don't think that's the right way to do it. But it's something I've learned, honestly, is that there is no right way to do it. We for so long, we recorded all of Living Room and I'm Ready and all that on a really cheap microphone that was like $99. And everyone said, you gotta upgrade now. I'm Ready's a platinum song. Like, you gotta upgrade to a more expensive mic. We tried. And Jack's vocal just didn't sound like himself. It's like trying to wear more expensive clothing, but it doesn't look good on you. It's like you're wasting your money at that point. And I think that was an important lesson to learn, that it's not the amount of money you're spending on the equipment or whatever the industry standard is. It's actually just what works best with your specific sound.
What mic are you using with that?
One more time?
What mic are you using with that?
Now we use an AKG 212. But it's not like an industry standard. It's still like kind of a crummy mic. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, so you're asking about synesthesia. For anybody that doesn't know, I have synesthesia, which is essentially wires are kind of crossed in my brain. So when I hear songs, I see colors. Or even when I think of songs, I see colors. And when I hear specific drum sounds, I see shapes. So the answer is no, I'm not like Lord, or you said Lord, sees a color and then tries to create that color. Oh no, definitely not. I think it definitely comes from listening to it, and I think the color is constantly changing. I think if just that chorus on its own, the "Don't you love it?" Yeah, just this section to me is very blue and purple and emotional, and then when it comes in, that's now gold and white. So I think the songs can have many colors within them, but I definitely try to just go with the flow and see where it takes me, if that makes sense. Yeah. Do I base my visuals like the tour visuals? 100%, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think you'll see that we do a making of in the middle of the show, and that is like a perfect view into my brain of, you'll see certain drums, like, oh, then we added a kick drum, and you'll see like a a black shiny hemisphere, you'll get to see exactly what is in my brain of picks and snares and all of those things. I don't have a ton of time. I'll take a few more questions actually. Yeah, go ahead.
What's your favorite song that you've produced? Or what's the most fun you've had while making a song?
Favorite song we've ever produced? Sober Up was the quickest song we've ever made. That was like a day and a half. And then it's a finished song. And I think you can kind of hear it in the song. It's kind of like rough around the edges, and we didn't really move everything to the grid. It was just kind of like, it feels like a rushed song in a nice kind of endearing way. So I think that was probably the most fun. Let me take two more questions. Have you asked a question? Okay, go ahead. The synesthesia? Yeah. I'm going to extrapolate your question. Like, what do I get the clearest image from? I think Christmas in June, probably. I think that exactly the image I get from Christmas in June is what we went with for the album cover. And I think that's probably like why it was the strongest image for me. Those kind of autumn colors, but it's like a little bit sad at the end and a little bit confused, and that's all the black and white stuff. I think probably Christmas in June. Yeah. Oh, amazing. Okay, let me take one more question. Yeah, go ahead. What inspired me to start making music? I took piano lessons when I was really young, and I really hated it. Because I think, like most kids, I hated being told what to do. And then I rediscovered piano through like Billy Joel and Elton John. That was really exciting for me. A lot of the old Disney music, I got really excited to play on piano. And then it was honestly production. It was, like I was saying, it's the excitement of like coming home from middle school and getting to make a Broadway kind of song, and that kind of challenge felt really satisfying. Let me take one more question. Yeah.
What's your favorite weird noise that you've added?
What's my favorite lyric that
Weird noise.
Favorite voice?
Weird noise.
Weird noise, sorry, Jesus. Let me think. Did they do this thing here where at 7 p.m. they like applauded for like the frontline workers and the pandemic and the doctors and stuff? Or did they not do this here? In New York, every day during the pandemic at 7 p.m., like all of New York out their window were like banging pots and pans and applauding, and we really liked that vibe, and so we put it into Ordinary-ish People when the chorus hits. We just needed like more space and room, and so we added the... Not that anybody would be able to know that's New York at 7 p.m., but it just kind of like marks that as a stamp for us. Now when I think back to Ordinary-ish People, I think of that exact moment we were working on it. So sometimes it's for the fans, sometimes it's for us, but I like putting in those little sound effects. Yeah. All right, thank you guys. I hope this was good.